So for today's video, I'm going to be looking at different Thoth decks that I have. I have 5 that I want to look at, and I just want to compare them because I think it's important to look at some of the things that one deck has over the other, just because I think that I use them for different reasons because of that. But I think it might help someone to figure out which one might work best for them. And they are all very similar, but there are some things that I think are important. So we'll be looking at the original one. Looks like this. And we'll be looking at the Rosetta Tarot. And I'll talk to you about these more in detail in just a moment, but just want to tell you which ones we're looking at. The Tabula Mundi, Tarot of Stars Eternal, and at the top it's Liberty, and Millennium Thoth. So let's start here with the Thoth deck, the original one. So you see it has this blue box. The blue box is important because that's the smaller size. And I think that depends on what you like, because I know I actually like the larger ones better. And the reason why is because on the larger cards, I can just see the details a little bit better. So I think that that is a benefit. But then again, the smaller size is easier to travel with and take around with you. So I am going to eventually get the larger size, but for right now, I think that this will work. And as far as it's a learning deck for me, so it's more like I'm really using it to study all the details within it. So I think that this deck is going to be one that I'll have for a very long time and just continue to use over the years because it just has so much to it. So let's take a look at it. The artwork in this deck is by Lady Frida Harris. She was like a specialist in a certain type of geometric painting, right? She would use these patterns to infuse them into her artwork. And I think that you can see that. You can see a lot of lines and different angles that she uses in these cards, and just the way that they're organized and arranged. They're arranged that way for a reason. And it just draws you in. It draws your eyes into the cards. So even with the pip cards on these, there are so many details. And, you know, a lot of people think that, well, it's a pip deck when it comes to the minor arcana, but, well, the court cards are not, but just the minor arcana, it seems like a lot of people might think, well, there's not a lot that you can get from them, but really there is, because there's a lot of things included in those images. So you just have to know what you're looking at. And that's why I say it's kind of a study deck. It's one of those decks where if you're not really paying attention to certain things, you kind of miss details. And I like that because it kind of gives you something to really explore, and it doesn't get old. It's always like brand new and fresh to go through this deck and look at the images. So if we look at the major arcana on this deck, I just love the colors. I think the colors are just really vibrant and beautiful on it. And it just works. I mean, it's just one of those decks that, I mean, at first I was more focused on the RWS system, but when you really start studying and you want to go deeper, the Thoth deck is just a really cool deck to take a look at. So this deck, the book that Aleister Crowley wrote for it is a very deep book, and there's a lot of details to it that you may not understand at first. So it's kind of like one of those decks that you really have to study and pay attention to. And so I think that it just takes time. But there are other books that are written that I think that are really much easier to follow. So just kind of go through and see what works for you. There's one that I have, but I'll put it in the description. And it's a good book because it just goes over each card individually and just talks about the meaning. So that's what I think a lot of people are gravitating towards when they get a deck like this. Not so much the esoteric or deep magical knowledge that is in a lot of the poetic writing in the Thoth book, but I think it's beautifully written, you know, no matter what you get out of it. Now, the backs of the Thoth deck, there's a cross on there. That cross is really important. And so I want to point that out first, because a lot of decks, I think all the ones that I have, they do not have this exact cross. And there's a lot of information packed into this. So if you're going to be studying it, this is a good thing to actually have. Now, moving on here, let's go ahead and look at another deck. So the Rosetta Tarot. And this one, if you're more interested in presentation and the box that it comes in and just kind of the art, and that's really important, as well as having a Thoth deck, I think this is a great choice. It doesn't come in a tuck box. It comes in a nice, you know, pretty nice box here. It has like a pull tab here, which I have tucked down in here, but yeah, it does have a little tab in there. And you know, the back, you know, you have that cross on the back, but it's a different design. So if we take the Thoth deck and compare it to it, you can see that there's a difference there. But that difference is something that if you really pay attention, a lot of the things you can find in this particular pattern right here as well. But it just depends on how you look at it. So just very interesting. I like the design here. It's very colorful and bright, and just stands out on the background there. So that's really interesting. But let's look at some of the cards here on this deck. And it does come with this first card here, which has the names of some of the different hieroglyphics that are in the deck. And that's important because these hieroglyphics, on these cards, they're at the bottom and they tell you what the cards are. So that's an important card there. But I just really love the colors on this one. And the pip cards on this, I think you can see the details much better. But it has a very painterly feel to it. More of a hand-drawn feel to it. So I like that. I like that feel of just seeing the artist's strokes on the cards and just a very raw feel to the cards. And I know I say that a lot, but that's something that I particularly enjoy. It has this papyrus type border, which I'm not going to cut off because I like the hieroglyphics on the bottom and I don't want to mess with that. So I'm going to keep the borders on this, and they don't bother me. But on the High Priestess card, they do keep that geometric pattern in the veil that she's holding up. But like on the Magician right here, you do kind of lose some of the lines. And that's one of the drawbacks, just because those lines do draw you in. It is a part of the original. And if you have that nostalgic feel for the original, then, you know, that's one of the things that just kind of, it's not there anymore. But it does add a lot of detail to some of the smaller symbols, and they pop out. So they don't really blend in with a lot of stuff. So it's not as busy, I feel. So if you like a little bit more clarity, then these cards really, I think, work well. I love the Death card here on this one. The color palette is really nice. That blue and tan and the black kind of bouncing off each other. I think it really works well. It's an excellent Tower card. So this one, for this deck, you can get this deck online. Go to tarotcard.com, and that's where you can find the place to kind of order the things from this particular company, both from the Tabula Mundi and from the Rosetta Tarot. They're made by the same company. So if you go there, there are different items. So you have books, you have the tarot cards, different sizes, and you can pick the size that works for you. So I don't think I have the largest size of either of these decks for the Tabula Mundi or for the Rosetta Tarot, but I like the kind of medium size that I have here. It works well. And there's also the book for this one. I did get the book for this one. Again, you do have to get the book separately on these. And well, if you're going to get it from the actual website. So the book is called The Book of Sesset. And I think that it just goes over the cards individually very well. So it's kind of a much easier version than the Thoth book by Crowley. And I get a lot from this. I read this and I like to use it when I'm doing my videos to understand the cards a little bit better. So this really helps a lot. And I'm glad I got that one. Now, one thing I will say is that if you get the app, there's an app that you can get for this where you can use the app to do readings, but you can also the books in the app. So if you don't want to buy the book, because the book is like, I'm not sure how much the book is, but I know it's more than $15, somewhere along those lines. I'll put it down in the description, but the app is only like $3. So you get the entire book. You get the book in the app, and it has a table of contents there. You can scroll through and find whatever you want, and you have it. It's portable, and you can do a bunch of other things with the app as well. So I did get the app too, because a lot of times I just don't want to take the book around somewhere, and if I'm gone for a little while, I like to have that. So that's an option. That's an option if you want to save money, or if you just like the portability of having an app. Just wanted to point that out. The next thing here that we're going to take a look at is the Tabula Mundi. So the Tabula Mundi, same website, like I was saying. Again, very good presentation. I love the box on this one. And this one, I know that I've seen people get this one in the past, and it has a lot of extra things that come with it. It's very beautifully packaged. But I think I got the one that was a little bit different. It was more on the medium side of the sizes, so it didn't have everything. So there are some that if you want to pay a little bit more, that have a lot more to them. For this deck, I think that the benefit of this one is that it has more of a crisp type of image. It doesn't have that. I mean, it has the hand drawn, hand painted feel to it, but not so much. I don't know how to explain it. It's more precise, I guess. It's more clean, the lines are cleaner. And so I kind of like that art as well. It does have different information on the bottom. So if depending on what you want from the reading. And so again, this deck is really easy to see all the symbols, and I like it for that. But it's also one of those decks where it takes the art to another level, I think, and really does make it stand out. It does step outside of the original Thoth a little bit more, I think, than the Rosetta Tarot, especially when you look at certain cards, like the Magician card is a DJ. If I can find that one, I'll show it to you. And then on the pip cards, you do have some things that are a little bit larger. You do have not just the swords there, you have the other elements are kind of blown up and magnified, so they stand out more. I really don't know. Like, I try to look at these decks and decide, well, which one do I really prefer the most? Which one do I like the best? And it's really hard. It's really hard. I mean, they are deep decks that just really fascinate me. They just really do have so much mystery to them. And that's part of the whole Thoth system. It's that mystery surrounding it that really draws you in and really kind of catches you and pulls you along there. And it's just this weird ride of just information after information that really does open your eyes to a lot of different things. So here's the Magus or the Magician card that I was telling you about. And I love the backs of these, even though it kind of changes that cross. That cross is even more different now. I think that the backs of these are probably one of the best backs I've seen of the decks that I have. I'm sure there's some really cool backs out there, but the backs of these are just nice. They have that kind of metallic inlay in there that, changes as you move it around. So the next one is the Tarot of Stars Eternal, Liberty. And So this one is Low Scarabeo, and I think that there is a book online for this one. Now the online book for this one is kind of a PDF, and it just goes over the individual cards, but it's important to read that one. I think it has a lot of good information in it as well, and kind of clarifies some things. So this one, I would say this is a really different one. I think this is one of the most different ones from the ones that I've seen in terms of like the art, the actual art. I think this one just has a very unique artistic style to it. So if you're looking for something that's Thoth but has like a different art pattern to it, this is a cool one. So this one also, if you like the court cards that have a little bit more to them, this one has a lot more on the actual, not court cards, but on the actual minor arcana and the court cards too. But mainly the minor arcana, you have a lot more people, a lot more going on. I think it's a little bit easier to read with. However, I would say for this one, there's more nudity, there's more sensual images, more graphic images. So for this one, if you don't want to see things that are a bit shocking, then this one wouldn't work. That's the drawback for this one. You know, people holding severed heads, or, you know, there's a lot of severed heads in this deck. This one's interesting with the reptilian up here. I have to look more into this card. It just kind of got my attention just now. So, but it just really has a unique style to it that I love. And it has the symbols for the elements on it. Some of the Thoth decks don't have that. And so if you like that, that's a good addition. Different languages, planet, and the sign that goes along with it. So, and this is one that I might actually trim because, well, no, you know, that's the dilemma. It's like I don't really like the different languages on here. I'm not a fan of that, but I do like the symbols. So I'm kind of stuck. The backs of these are the most different, I think. Well, actually, no. I'd say the second to the most different of the ones that I have. It just has the Justice card here on the back. And so you lose the cross altogether. And that cross, like I said, that cross, you can learn a lot from that. That's a very good thing to study as far as like your spiritual knowledge is concerned. Last one that I have here is the Millennium Thoth. And for this one, this is the more modern one. I think of the ones that I have, this one just has that more digital feel to it, but everything's crisp, everything's clear, and everything is easy to really see and visualize. So I use this one sometimes in my videos. I will say that this one is the least diverse. That's one thing about this one that's kind of like not as cool, but other than that, it keeps some of the symmetry, but still you get that really digital feel to it. The people almost look like their faces that have been, you know, just cropped and put on there or something in some cases. But I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a very beautiful deck. And I like it for, like I said, for the reason of like pointing out certain things on the cards. And if I'm going to do a reading that's not very deep, like something where I'm just maybe doing it for someone else that may not really want to be, you know, want to hear about any of the symbols or anything, this one kind of works for that. So I really like that. And I think people like the colors on this and just the modern feel to it. It is more glossy than the other ones, I would say. So it's just like I think this card stock is the most unique in terms of the card stocks. But if you like glossy decks, then this is good. But if not, then this one might be that might be a kind of a deal breaker for you. The backs are very different. There's like an infinity sign with a nautilus, so it does step away from the tradition there. And So I would say it's Thoth with elements of Thoth thrown in there and just kind of a different take and a different feel on some of the cards. But I like it. I'm glad I got this one because it just gives me a different perspective, a different view of it. Gives me a better complete image of the deck, maybe things that I missed before. Kind of adds it in there. And so this one was Low Scarabeo too, but you're getting a better quality box on this one. So the book on this one, let me talk about that real quick. So the book on this one is, it seems like you're getting a lot, but of course it's different languages, so you're not getting as much as you think you are. It probably ends about right. So probably half, a little bit less than half on the actual material that you get. But I do like at least that it's not like one of those regular pamphlets. It feels a little bit more sturdy and more quality. So I didn't tell you about the book on the Tabula Mundi. So the book on the Tabula Mundi, same thing, get it separate. I do not have the book for this one, but I do have the book on the app. I got the app for this one as well. And so that is it. Those are the 5 that I wanted to talk to you about. Let me know if you have any other recommendations. I'd love to hear what you think about other Thoth decks that I might be interested in. I did order the Crowley Tarot, which is, it's different. It's not like this at all, but it's based on, Aleister Crowley's history more so, which I'm kind of, that's fascinating in and of itself. But that's all I wanted to share. So again, comment below and I will respond and we can talk about these different decks. Let me know what you think. And thank you so much. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot. See you guys next time.